Years have passed since I last saw the signpost, worn and leaning, proclaiming Crystal Pines, our beloved summer haven. Now, with 8 of us crammed into 2 cars, the journey feels surreal. We're heading to the old cabin where we grew up, where summers unfolded in a kaleidoscope of laughter, tears, and whispered ghost stories. Remember the summer of '05? Evelyn asks, her eyes shining with nostalgia in the rearview mirror. When we almost burned the cabin down trying to make s'mores indoors? Laughter erupts, filling the car. Memories like these have sustained us through the long drive, bridging the years that stretched between us. I smile, thinking of our younger selves, wild and free. As we pull up, nostalgia washes over me. Nestled in the heart of the forest, surrounded by towering pines, the cabin looks exactly as I remembered, yet profoundly different. It's a rustic structure, built from aged logs, weathered by countless storms. The roof slopes unevenly. A brick chimney, weathered and draped in ivy, juts out from one side. The front door, painted an inviting red, is as welcoming as ever, despite its creaking hinges. The once vibrant blue window shutters have faded, a patchy mix of old paint and exposed wood. The manicured path is overgrown, flagstones almost hidden by tall grass and weeds. Vines climb the exterior walls, forming a chaotic, organic latticework that wasn't there before. Even the porch shows its age. One wooden plank remains loose, just as it always was. More dilapidated than I remembered, weather-worn and rickety, it still stands. The swing tied to the big oak tree is frayed, hanging by a thread. The old wooden seat looks ready to disintegrate. As I take it all in, memories flood back. We were kings and queens of this place once, but now nature has undeniably reclaimed it. A sense of isolation, unfamiliar from our childhood, pervades the air, broken only by the distant rustling of leaves and the sporadic calls of forest creatures. Oliver is the first to approach, pushing open the red door. It creaks in protest, rusty hinges groaning with age. A cloud of dust billows out as we pause, letting the stale air escape. One by one, we follow Oliver inside. The interior is as I remembered. Warm wooden walls adorned with faded family photos and random antiques, mismatched furniture, each whispering tales of summers past. The smell of aged wood mingles with the scent of the pine forest outside. Our old rooms remain as we left them, filled with remnants of our younger selves. I smile, picking up an old comic book from my bedside table, its pages yellowed with age. The bunk beds creak under our weight, just as they used to. A comforting familiarity settles over me, a sense of coming home. As we unpack, the cabin slowly comes alive. The fireplace crackles, laughter echoes off the walls, and Theodore's guitar softly strums, unpacked from his bag. We fill the spaces with our presence, brushing away years of emptiness. Clara and Evelyn busy themselves in the kitchen, filling the cabin with the aroma of cooking food. Later, we gather in the living room, our old meeting place, bathed in the soft glow of the fire, filled with the sound of music and clinking glasses. Seeing them all again is like stepping into an old photograph. There's Oliver, the unofficial leader, a little fuller than before. His once messy hair now tamed and slicked back. Beside him is Evelyn, always the most adventurous, with a spirit as untamed as the mountain winds. Her freckles have faded, but her fiery red hair remains vibrant, framing her infectious smile. Next to Evelyn is Clara, possessing a quiet grace and strength that held us together during our craziest adventures. Theodore, perched on the armrest of the couch, strums his guitar, his long hair framing his fingers as we reminisce. Then there's William and Grace, the inseparable duo, who've gone from best friends to a married couple, yet retain their synchronicity, their unspoken understanding. Finally, Sophia, now a successful novelist. Her love for stories turned into a career. As the sun sinks below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of purple and orange, darkness shrouds the cabin. We gather around the fire pit outside. The firewood crackles, flames dancing into the twilight, casting a warm, inviting glow. Theodore, seated across from me, prods the fire with a stick. The firelight reflects on his face, highlighting a thoughtful expression. "You know, I almost didn't come," he admits, his gaze fixed on the flames. "Thought it would be. I don't know. Too different." Clara gives him a reassuring smile. "But it's not right," she questions, her gaze searching his. "It's the same. We're the same." "Yeah," Theodore responds, attempting a smile, but a note of uncertainty betrays him. The night stretches on, filled with laughter and chatter. We share stories of our past, drink like teenagers sneaking alcohol for the first time, and sing songs that were once the anthems of our youth. It's a beautiful reliving of the past, almost perfect, almost like old times. Yet, beneath the laughter and warmth, a nagging unease settles in my gut. The woods, once a place of adventure, seem to carry a different air, one of anticipation. It feels as though the trees are watching us. The silence of the forest feels loaded, as though it's holding its breath, waiting. But waiting for what? Our laughter fades into the stillness, replaced by the sounds of the forest. I catch a glimpse of Theodore rising. "I need some fresh air," he announces, wandering off into the darkness. We don't think much of it, but after an hour, unease settles over us. Oliver stands up. "He's been gone too long," he says, his voice echoing the worry I've been trying to suppress. Evelyn nods, a determined look on her face. "We need to look for him. He can't have gone far." A collective nod of agreement. Our light-hearted reunion takes on a more serious undertone. With flashlights in hand and heavy hearts, we split into pairs. Oliver and Sophia, Evelyn and William, Grace and I. The forest is different at night. The gentle rustle of leaves is replaced by an eerie silence, broken only by the occasional night creature stirring. The soft glow of our flashlights pierces the darkness, our voices calling out Theodore's name. "Theodore, where are you?" Evelyn calls, her voice echoing through the trees, desperation creeping into her tone. Our worry intensifies with each passing minute. Grace and I trek deeper into the woods, our flashlights sweeping over the moss-covered trees and underbrush. "Theodore," I call, trying to keep my voice steady. "If you can hear us, please respond." But our calls are met with silence, our flashlights illuminating only the empty wilderness. It feels as though the forest is swallowing our words. After what feels like hours, we return to the cabin, each pair carrying the same news: no sign of Theodore. As the first rays of morning light peek through the cabin windows, casting long shadows on the wooden floor, we've all but given up hope. Theodore's absence hangs heavy in the air. The cabin, once filled with joy and nostalgia, feels empty without him. Our worry morphs into panic, a gnawing sensation that eats at our composure. Then, the cabin door creaks open. We all turn. Backlit by the rising sun, it's Theodore. But the relief is short-lived. Something is noticeably different about him. His usually vibrant eyes seem distant, as if looking at something far away. As he steps inside, his face is strangely impassive. Our bombardment of questions fills the air. "Theodore, where the hell were you?" Oliver demands, relief evident in his voice. "We've been searching all night." Theodore shrugs, not meeting Oliver's eyes. "Got lost, I guess." Evelyn scoffs, crossing her arms. "You know these woods better than anyone." "Yeah, well." Theodore's voice trails off, his gaze distant, lost in thought. "You had us worried, Theodore." Clara chimes in, her voice soft, concerned. "Are you feeling all right?" He gives a small nod. "Yeah, just tired." "You sure you're okay, man?" William asks, squinting at Theodore, trying to figure him out. "Yeah," Theodore responds, irritation creeping into his voice. "I said I'm fine." His response sends a hush over the group. It's unusual for Theodore to snap. We exchange glances, our confusion and worry reflected in each other's eyes. "All right. Let's give Theodore some space," I say, attempting to diffuse the tension. "We're all tired. Let's get some breakfast going." Reluctantly, the others nod, and we move toward the kitchen, leaving Theodore standing by the doorway. As I take one last glance at him, I can't shake off a knot of unease. This isn't the Theodore we know, and something feels terribly wrong. Theodore's strange behavior becomes increasingly evident. He sits apart during breakfast, his plate largely untouched. The Theodore we know would have been in the middle of it all, cracking jokes, laughing. But this Theodore is silent, his gaze vacant. After breakfast, we decide to hike down to the river, a spot where our younger selves spent countless hours swimming and indulging in wild, carefree adventures. As we approach, I can almost hear the echoes of our laughter, see the ghosts of our past selves splashing in the water. Theodore, always the most enthusiastic, would usually be the first to dive in, his joyous yell echoing off the trees. But today, he remained standing on the riverbank, his eyes, usually filled with mischief and joy, fixed on the water's surface, a deep frown etched on his face. "Hey, Theodore, you coming in?" I calls out, trying to infuse cheerfulness into my voice, hoping to pull him out of his somber mood. He barely glances at me, shaking his head. "No, I'm good here." His voice is distant and detached, as if he's miles away. His apathy and sudden isolation send a ripple of unease through me. It's as if he's merely going through the motions, a pale imitation of the vibrant personality he once was. On the hike back, Theodore falls behind, his steps slow and measured. In the past, he'd be at the center of every conversation, his laughter ringing through the woods. But today, he remains silent, his gaze fixed on the path ahead. When spoken to, he offers quick, clipped responses, each word seeming to be dragged out of him. There's a hollow look in his eyes, a lack of emotion that's unnerving. It's like watching a familiar movie with all the color drained out. The scenes are the same, the characters are the same, but everything feels lifeless and disconnected. The hike back is quiet. Our group is noticeably subdued. We exchange glances, silently acknowledging the chilling change in our friend. Later that night, as nightfall descends, we gather around the fireplace, the flickering flames casting dancing shadows on our worried faces. Theodore, still distant and withdrawn, barely speaks, his eyes vacant, lost in unspoken thought. While Evelyn and Oliver prepare dinner in the kitchen, the rest of us settle in the living area. The mood is significantly quieter than the previous night. The laughter and stories have been replaced with whispered conversations and anxious glances. Clara tries to lighten the mood, but her efforts are met with strained smiles. After dinner, Clara volunteers to wash up, vanishing into the kitchen. We try to keep the conversation going, to return to the jovial atmosphere of our reunion. But it's like trying to tune a radio to a frequency that no longer exists. As the minutes stretch into hours, we realize Clara hasn't returned. At first, we assume she's just taking her time, finding solace in the routine of washing dishes. But as more time passes, a familiar knot of worry begins to form in our stomachs. "Where's Clara?" Sophia finally voices our collective concern, her eyes wide with worry. "I'll go check on her," I volunteer, rising from my seat. The cabin suddenly feels smaller, claustrophobic, the walls seeming to close in on us. I find the kitchen empty, dishes piled neatly on the rack, the light from the single bulb casting long shadows on the floor, but no sign of Clara. "Clara!" I call out, my voice echoing in the empty room. A heavy silence greets me. I quickly move towards the kitchen's back door, finding it slightly ajar. A cool night breeze wafts in. Clara wouldn't have gone out alone, would she? Not after what happened with Theodore. My heart hammers in my chest as I return to the living area. The worried faces turn towards me, their expressions mirroring my fear. "She's not there," I say, my voice barely above a whisper. A shared look of fear passes among us. Not again. We can't be going through this again. But the empty kitchen stands as a reminder of the reality we're facing. Clara is missing, and we're trapped in a nightmarish replay of last night. As we scramble to our feet, flashlights in hand, ready to search for our missing friend, I can't help but glance at Theodore. He sits unmoved, his gaze fixed on the fire, his expression unreadable. The cabin, once a place of joyous reunion, feels like a trap now, its walls closing in on us with each passing minute. With flashlights in our hands and worry clawing at our hearts, we spread out to search for Clara. The forest, usually a place of nostalgic memories, now seems alien, each tree casting ominous shadows in the weak glow of our flashlights. "Clara!" William calls out, his voice echoing in the stillness. We follow suit, our voices ringing out into the night. The only answer we receive is the distant hooting of an owl, its call piercing the eerie silence. We search through the woods, our boots crunching on the undergrowth, the beams from our flashlights slicing through the darkness. But there's no sign of Clara. No footprints, no trace of where she might have gone. After a couple of hours of fruitless searching, Oliver suggests we head back to the cabin. She might have returned while we were out, he reasons, though his voice lacks conviction. We all nod, albeit reluctantly, and trudge back to the cabin, a sense of defeat hanging heavy in the air. As the cabin comes into view, its windows glowing dimly in the darkness, a sliver of hope ignites within us. Perhaps Clara is back, safe and sound, just as Theodore was. But stepping inside, we're met with the same unnerving silence, the same empty spaces. Theodore sits by the fireplace, seemingly undisturbed by Clara's disappearance. He glances at us as we step in, his eyes hollow, the mask of indifference firmly in place. It's chilling to see him so disengaged, so unlike the Theodore we've known. The rest of the night is a blur of anxious pacing and hushed conversations. We take turns keeping watch, hoping that Clara will walk through the door, safe and unharmed. As the sun peeks over the horizon, casting long shadows across the cabin, the front door creaks open. Clara steps through, her face impassive, her eyes vacant. A wave of relief washes over me, quickly replaced by a sense of unease. "Clara!" Sophia exclaims, rushing to her. But Clara doesn't respond, doesn't even acknowledge her. Instead, she walks past us as if we're not there. Her clothes are dirty, leaves tangled in her hair, yet she doesn't seem bothered by it. It's as though she's in a trance, oblivious to her surroundings. My heart sinks. The same vacant stare, the same distant demeanor, just like Theodore. "Clara, where were you?" I ask, stepping in front of her. She stops, her gaze focusing on me. There's no recognition in her eyes, no familiarity. It's as if she's looking right through me. "I was out," she replies, her voice flat and devoid of emotion. "But we were worried. We searched for you all night." Evelyn interjects, her voice shaky. Clara merely shrugs, stepping around me to continue towards her room. As she passes Theodore, they share a glance, something fleeting but filled with a strange understanding. A silent interaction that sends a shiver down my spine. The rest of us exchange worried glances. It's happening again. As Clara disappears into her room, shutting the door behind her, we're left standing in the common area, a heavy silence settling around us. The air feels thick with unspoken fear. The reality of our situation hits us harder than before. Whatever is happening, it's not a mere coincidence. It's not fatigue or stress. It's something beyond our understanding, something terrifying. And as we glance at each other, the same thought reflects in our eyes. The day drags on with a growing sense of dread. Our group, once filled with laughter and shared memories, is now divided by an undercurrent of fear and suspicion. It's clear to us all, Theodore and Clara are not the friends we've known. There's something else, something terrifying. Later in the day, we're huddled in the relative safety of the kitchen, our voices low, our eyes fixed on the closed door that separates us from the entities that wear our friends' faces. William is the first to break the silence. He holds up his left arm, his fingers tracing a non-existent wound. "Have any of you noticed this?" he whispers, looking around at us. Both Theodore and Clara have this cut on their left arm, right here. He points to a spot on the inside of his forearm, his eyes wide with a mix of fear and urgency. He doesn't need to explain for us to understand the gravity of his observation. The air in the room seems to get colder as the implication of his words sinks in. Our eyes meet across the room, each of us reflecting the horror felt by the other. Evelyn puts a hand over her mouth, her eyes glassy with terror. Oliver swears under his breath, running a shaky hand through his hair. Sophia clutches her chest, her breathing ragged. "The exact same spot," Sophia whispers, her voice trembling. "The same size. That can't be a coincidence." "It's not," Oliver agrees. "It's connected to whatever happened to them. It must be." Suddenly, our friend's transformations seem even more ominous. The identical cuts and similar behavior. Everything points to a single, horrifying conclusion. Whatever is happening to them is methodical, almost surgical. With a mix of terror and determination gnawing at our insides, we decide to confront them. We make our way towards the living area where Theodore and Clara are seated, their backs against the wall, their eyes devoid of any familiar warmth. "What happened to your arms?" I demand, my voice louder than I intended, breaking the cabin silence. All eyes are on us now, on them, on the identical cuts adorning their left arms. Theodore glances at Clara, a strange, silent understanding passing between them. Their eyes then return to us, and it feels like we're looking into an abyss. A chilling reminder of how much they've changed. "It was nothing," Theodore starts, his voice devoid of emotion. "Just a small accident." "Yeah," Clara chimes in, her voice flat, Nothing to worry about. But they're identical, William interjects, his voice shaking. Identical cuts, same spot, same size. That's not a coincidence. Are you implying something, William? Clara asks, her eyes narrowing, something in her voice sending a chill down my spine. Yeah, Sophia retorts, her voice filled with conviction. That you're not who you say you are. Then their features start to shift, their faces blurring as if seen through rippled glass. A wave of disgust rolls over us as their bodies twist and contort, reshaping into something that vaguely resembles our friends but is completely alien. A gasp echoes through the room as we stumble backward, our worst fears confirmed. The creatures in front of us are no longer our friends, but monstrous parodies wearing their skins. We are facing shape-shifting creatures, and we're trapped in a cabin with them. Fueled by a surge of fear and adrenaline, we scramble away from them, tripping over furniture, scrambling up the stairs and into a room, slamming the door shut. We push a heavy dresser against it, panting heavily as we press our bodies against the cold wood. The harsh reality of our situation crashes into us like a tidal wave. We are trapped in a cabin with creatures that not only murder their victims, but replicate them in horrifying detail. Survival now hinges on escape. In the midst of the chaos, Evelyn, pale and shaky, pulls an old newspaper clipping from a dust-covered book. Her trembling hands smooth out the worn paper, her eyes scanning the faded print before she starts to read aloud, her voice wavering but clear. Local cabin owners mysteriously disappear. She reads the headline, pausing for a moment before continuing. Harold and Agnes McClary, longtime residents and owners of the much-loved wilderness cabin, have been reported missing. Her voice fills the tense silence, the words echoing eerily in the room as she continues. Last seen by their neighbors 3 weeks ago. Their sudden disappearance has left the small community shocked and confused. Local authorities have found no sign of forced entry or struggle at the cabin, and their car remains parked outside the house. She flips the clipping over, revealing a smaller article buried on the back. Cabin curse legends resurface with recent disappearances. The subheading reads. She takes a shaky breath and reads on. The recent disappearances have stirred up old tales among the locals. Legends speak of a sinister entity residing in the surrounding woods. They describe a shapeshifter that feeds on humans, absorbing their essence and assuming their form. Evelyn's voice quivers as she finishes reading. The tale of the cabin curse, as it's known among locals, is as old as the hills around us. And while it may be the stuff of campfire stories, the eerie parallels with the McCarthy's disappearance cannot be ignored. She sets the newspaper clipping down, the room falling silent except for our ragged breaths. The horrifying implications of what she just read hang heavy in the room, chilling us to the bone. The cabin, the missing owners, the legends, it all lines up too perfectly with our current situation. And the horrifying possibility stares us right in the face. We're living the nightmare that the McCarthys possibly went through. The thought that the previous owners could have suffered a similar fate sends shivers down our spines. Were they too replaced by these creatures? Had their identities been stolen, their lives consumed by this monstrous entity? We need to leave now. Oliver's voice cuts through the horrified silence, his eyes flashing with a determination that anchors us. He's right. If we don't act now, we too will be replaced by these monsters. The weight of the situation presses heavily on us, the chilling words from the newspaper clipping echoing in our minds. We're running out of time, and we can't afford to wait for another one of us to disappear and be replaced. In a desperate bid for survival, we come up with a plan to confront the creatures. We need to lure them into the basement. William proposes, his gaze firm. Once they're down there, we lock them in. It's our best chance. We glance at each other, a chilling realization that this is what it has come to. Using one of us as bait to trap the monsters wearing our friends' faces. "I'll do it," Oliver says, his voice steady. The protests are immediate, but he quells them with a look. "We don't have time. Let's do this." I nod at the others, signaling for them to be quiet. I slowly turn the handle of the door we've barricaded ourselves behind. The creaking hinges sound like thunder in the quiet cabin, but I ease it open, praying that the doppelgangers are nowhere near. The hallway is empty, eerily silent, sending a shiver down my spine. We step out one by one, our eyes constantly darting around, our breaths held in a mix of fear and anticipation. Oliver moves past us to the end of the hall, his hand poised above the basement door handle. Our plan is dangerous, using him as bait to lure the creature into the basement. We creep our way towards him. The old wooden floor under our feet groans and squeaks, making us wince each time. We're sitting ducks out here, far from the relative safety of that room we were just in, and the awareness of it makes my heart race. Finally, we reach the basement door. Oliver casts one last look at us. We watch as he descends. The ominous thud of the closing door echoes in the silent cabin. Now we wait. Each second stretches into an eternity. The sound of our own heartbeats fills our ears. Then, out of the silence comes a crash from below, a sound so sudden that we all jump. It's followed by a strangled cry. "Oliver!" My heart lurches in my chest. We were too late. Our plan to trap the creature had instead led it straight to its next victim. Suddenly, the basement door flies open. Oliver stands at the top of the stairs, but something is wrong. His eyes are distant, his movements strange and mechanical. The creature had outsmarted us, used our plan against us. It had taken Oliver. A chilling wave of realization washes over us. The friends we grew up with, shared countless memories with, have been replaced by these monstrous doppelgangers. "We need to fight," Evelyn whispers, gripping the makeshift weapon in her hand tighter. Armed with whatever makeshift weapons we can find, a kitchen knife, a fireplace poker, a broken chair leg, we confront our once friends. Their familiar faces are twisted into grotesque caricatures. I hold the broken chair leg, positioning myself in front of Theodore's doppelganger. His once kind eyes now glint with an unnatural, predatory gleam. He lunges toward me with a suddenness that leaves me reeling, but I manage to sidestep and bring the chair leg down on him. He recoils but quickly recovers, swiping his arm at me. I block, feeling the jarring impact travel up my arms. Nearby, Evelyn faces off with Clara's doppelganger, armed with a fireplace poker. She's a whirlwind of motion. Every swing she takes is precise, keeping the creature at bay. It lunges at her, but she sidesteps at the last moment, ramming the poker into its side. It screeches, the sound terribly echoing in the confined space. But Evelyn stands her ground, her eyes blazing with determination. William has the most challenging task, facing off with Oliver's doppelganger. Oliver was always the biggest among us, and his replica retains that formidable strength. But William, lighter and more agile, uses that to his advantage. He weaves around the creature's attacks, managing to land several hits with his kitchen knife. Each stab, each slash, seems to slow it down, even if just a bit. Slowly, bit by bit, we start to gain the upper hand. Evelyn lands a solid blow on Clara's doppelganger, knocking it to the ground. William manages to get in close, driving his knife deep into Oliver's doppelganger. I swing with all the strength I can muster, catching Theodore's replica across the face. It stumbles, giving me the opening I need. With a final, desperate effort, I bring the chair leg down on it, and it falls, joining the others on the floor. We stand panting, our bodies shaking with exertion and the aftermath of adrenaline. Our makeshift weapons drop from our hands, clattering on the wooden floor of the cabin. The only way we can stop them is by burning the cabin, Oliver states, his voice trembling yet resolute. His words echo in the silence, and we exchange wide-eyed glances. It sounds insane, yet in our desperate situation, also incredibly sane. Once we agree, we set into motion. Evelyn and I creep into the kitchen, trying to keep our footsteps light, our breaths hushed. We find bottles of strong liquor in one of the cupboards, probably left behind from some previous reunion. We tear strips from the old curtains, soaking them in the liquor and creating makeshift Molotov cocktails. With one last glance toward the living room, we grab our crude weapons and leave the cabin. Once we are back with the others, William takes a deep breath and lights one of the cocktails. William lobs the flaming bottle toward the cabin. It arcs in the air before crashing through a window. The explosion of flames is instantaneous, illuminating the forest around us in an angry orange glow. Immediately, the fire catches, spreading quickly from one part of the cabin to another. Our hearts pound in our chests as we watch the cabin turn into an inferno, trapping the monstrous creatures within. The forest is silent, except for the crackling of the burning cabin. The flames roar, leaping up toward the starlit sky, consuming everything in its path. But as we start to retreat, a chilling sound reaches our ears. A high-pitched, echoing wail emanates from the cabin. Our steps falter, and we turn back towards the burning cabin. There, silhouetted against the flames, we see them. Theodore, Clara, and Oliver, or at least the monstrous copies of them. They're pounding on the windows, clawing at the doors, their distorted faces contorted in agony as they try to escape the inferno. But the fire is relentless. The flames dance higher, the heat intensifying. And we watch as the doppelgangers retreat from the windows, disappearing into the blazing interior. Their cries are soon drowned by the crackling of the fire. A chill runs down our spines, but we know it's over. The creatures are trapped, unable to escape the fiery prison we've condemned them to. The cabin burns, the fire reflecting in our wide, traumatized eyes. But we've survived. As the creatures' cries fade away, a sense of relief washes over us. As we cut across the dewy grass, panting and trembling, we hear the distant wail of a siren's, a sound that promises help and safety. Our hearts, running high on adrenaline and fear, find a momentary pause. The local authorities, drawn by the smoke of our desperate act, are on their way. We huddle together, a safe distance from the burning cabin, our legs finally giving out beneath us. The ground feels cold against our skin, but we hardly notice. Our eyes are locked on the fiery spectacle before us, watching as the cabin succumbs to the flames. "I can't believe we made it," Evelyn murmurs, her voice barely rising above the crackling of the fire and the distant siren's wail. It's a sentiment we all share, a heavy truth that we're just beginning to accept. The forest suddenly brightens as the headlights of the first responding vehicles cut through the darkness. Firefighters in heavy gear rush to battle the fire, their hoses raining down torrents of water. Local police, their faces twisted with confusion and concern. Approach us with a flurry of questions we're not ready to answer. Days later, as we leave the site for the final time, the scorched remains of the cabin feel like a haunting ghost in our rearview mirror. A painful reminder of the horror we faced, the friends we lost. The cabin is behind us, its terrifying secrets reduced to ashes, and we are moving forward. That's the end of today's story. I hope you liked it as much as I did. Have you ever experienced something similar? Share your thoughts in the comments, like and subscribe for new daily stories, and to support our channel. See you soon.